Assalamualaikum. My name is Ainol Yaqin Binti Muhammad Fadzil. Now I will present about my final year project and the title is Telco Data Plan Recommendation System. And my supervisor is Dr. Muhammad Imran bin Muhammad Arif. I will start my presentation with the background of study. As we know, mobile learning is a learning process using various technological gadgets, and it is transforming the learning environment by allowing the student to participate in online mode. And the extensive of mobile learning has resulted in students relying on the usage of their personal mobile data in order to gain access for their learning material. Thus, students demand for a good and reliable mobile data plan, and their needed is they need the lowest mobile call rate, uninterrupted mobile service, and mobile data plan at the best price. As we know, there are a great amount of mobile data plan that are available, so that for the implementation of a recommendation system will help the student or the other user to choose the best available mobile data plan for them. Next is problem statement. In this section, we will get to know why this project is important. Nowadays, the selection of the best data plan is vital. And as students mostly use extensive mobile data in their daily usage, especially for their learning process. And students regularly face budget constraint. Thus, the students have difficulties in finding out the most suitable data plan. And with this recommendation web application system, it hopes to assist students in selecting the best data plan based on certain condition features of the data plan. Next is the objective of the project. Firstly is to identify data plans that offered by the telco provider. Second is to develop a recommendation system based on budget and users needed by the students. And the third is to evaluate data plan using appropriate recommendation system or technique. Next is scope and significance of the project. User rating, budget, type of data plan, and validity of data plan is considered by the system to give recommendation of the data plan. And for the significance, this project can save student time in finding suitable data plan that fits the student's satisfaction. Thus, this system will help the student to get the good internet access by having a good data plan. Next is for chapter 2, we will describe about the literature review of the project. First, I will describe about the telecommunication service. What is telecommunication? It is described as the transmission of data and it allows people to communicate over a distance. It is essential to user because without traveling, user can remain connected with others around the world. With the ease of communication, user can save time to finish their work at any time and anywhere. But there are some factors to meet user satisfaction, such as service quality, billing and price, network connectivity, customer service, and so on. Next is recommendation technique. There are three main techniques in recommendation. Firstly is content-based filtering, collaborative filtering, and hybrid filtering. For content-based filtering, the items are recommended by focus on the interest of the user rather on other users' preferences. Meanwhile, for collaborating filtering, it works by constructing a data plan that is user item metric of user preferences for item. Next, for hybrid filtering. For hybrid filtering, it will combine different recommendation technology to prevent the drawbacks of pure recommendation system. For example, it will combine for content-based filtering and collaborative filtering so that it will generate a hybrid filtering. Next is similar application or system. There are some applications that are similar with the project. First is Trivago. As we know, Trivago is an online recommendation system that makes it easier to find the best hotel for a trip. and the system makes it easy for the user to find hotel simply by entering the destination that end up displaying endless choice. User can find plenty of options available at affordable price. If the user is not satisfied, the user may also compare the price of various hotels. Next is Netflix. Netflix offers movie streaming through a subscription model, and when the user log in, the recommendation will begin. For instance, after the user log into the application, they will see 10 rows that consist of titles that are user most likely to watch next. Next is conclusion. Recommendation system open new ways for customized knowledge to be retrieved on the internet. And this study will guide to develop the recommendation system. And recommendation system also helps to solve the issue of data overload and allows users to access product and service that are not ready accessible on the system to user. And for the project, we will use collaborative filtering. Next is methodology for chapter 3. We choose multimedia development lifecycle, that is MDLC. There are 6 phases. Firstly is conceptualization, development, pre-production, production, post-production, and documentation. For conceptualization, this phase constitutes of the categorization of domain stage. And in this stage, we will decide the project title, and we will identify the availability of content and also check for the suitability of the material for the multimedia treatment. And then for development plan, it's constitute the development of the system architecture for the web application. We will identify the goals, and the goals is to save the time in finding suitable data plan that fits the student's satisfaction. And for the activity, we will implement the recommendation engine, and the target audience is student. Next is pre-production. But in this pre-production phases, we will mapping the entire project with a coherent plan, and we will also choose the software and hardware to develop the system. Next is production. All the functional requirements of the prototype web application will be analyzed and tested to obtain user feedback. And in this production, we will create the content research, we will do the content research, interface design, graphic development, selection of background, functionality of system, recommendation engine, data filtering, and also database. Next is post-production. In this phase, the further testing will be conducted using scenario based on testing and black box testing. For testing, we will use the local host to verify the functionality of project. And for the sample of user, from the sample of user, we will get some report if there is any issue from the project. Lastly, for documentation, in this phase, the proper documentation and deployment of the web application will be conducted, such as the instruction, requirement, and the technology used by the system. Next is system architecture. As we can see in this figure, for collaborative filtering method, there is item-based filtering and user-based filtering, and this is the recommendation engine that we use in the project. So that from the recommendation engine will calculate the similarity of the active user with the existing user, and it will give the output of the recommendation list. And also the user can give rate of the data plan. And all the information of the user rating will be saved in the database. Next is chapter 4, that is application design and implementation. Firstly, the software requirement. We will need the XAMPP server, subline text, and also phpMyAdmin. XAMPP server will allow a local host to serve to our server to test a website on PC and laptop. And for subline text, it is a source code editor and have plugin that allow user to extend the functionality of the system. And lastly, for the phpMyAdmin, it is a MySQL administration tools, especially for web hosting provider, as a portable web application developed mostly in PHP. And for this project, we will use the PHP language. Next is hardware requirement. In this project, we only use laptop to develop the project. And the laptop I use is the model of laptop is MacBook D15 and the processor is AMD Ryzen and the installed memory is 8 GB and the system type is 64-bit operating system. Next is the flowchart of the system. As we can see in this figure, firstly, for the user that already have an account, they just need to go to the login page and input their information, the username and also the password, and the system will get the login information. And if the information is valid, the user will be redirected to the home page. But if no, they will be redirected to the login page because they need to insert the information, the correct information. But if there is new user, they need to register to access the system, and they need to go to the register page and input their username and also password, and the system will get the register information and save in the database. After they save in the database, the user will be redirected to login page. Next is after user already redirected to home page, there are some function that they can use, that is they can display all data plan, display data plan that they are already rated, and find data plan based on their preferences or based on their interests. And they also can display recommendation based on other users that have the same interest. So this is the recommendation engine. For display all of, if the user choose to display all data plan, they can choose any data plan and they can display the data plan description or give feedback for the data plan, and they can also see the feedback from other user and also the average rating of each data plan. Then if they are already finished their activities in the system, they can log out from the system. Next is interface design. Interface design is very important for every project because it is vital to develop the user interface as early as feasible before deploying on the web application, since it might help the developer organize and flesh out a concept before putting it into action. And as we can see, this is the login page, sign up page, the home page, the display all data plan page, the description page, list feedback page, recommendation page, and find data plan page. Next is chapter 5. In this chapter, we will describe about the result and discussion. As we can see here, this is the user rating page, and the user can rate any data plan that they want based on their preferences, so that after they send the feedback, this pop-up message will be appear if the user successfully read the data plan. And then after they read to any data plan, the recommendation engine can do its work to give recommendation for the user. And in this figure, it shows the screenshot of the system, and the system can give recommendation of the data plan to the user. And next is functional testing result. As we can see in the figure, all the functionality get the pass result for user, that is user register, user login, navigation menu, icon, and element functionality. Next is display data plan, description data plan, rated data plan, and feedback list. And the recommendation result is also passed, and the search data plan by data plan name and data plan filtering based on user input. Next is limitation. Even though the system is already successfully developed, but there are some limitations in the project. Firstly, for the first-time user, they will not get any recommendation from the system because they did not read any data plan in the system. Because the system need the data to calculate the similarity of the user and compare it with other user to get recommendation. Next, user need to find the data plan manually on the website to give feedback because the system does not have button to redirect the data plan description and feedback form in the find data plan page. Next is future work. This section is to solve the limitation of the for the project. Firstly, the future work needed by the project is after the user get the data plan based on the features that they need in the find data plan page, the user can be redirected to the data plan description page and feedback page so that it's easy for them to give the feedback for the data plan. And then for the next future work is the system can recommend the most rated data plan for the first time user. Next is project coding and database. Next is the database of the project. We will use the phpMyAdmin and the database name is TelcoDB. And we have 3 tables. The table is users, and in this user table, we will save the username and password. And for telco, we will save all the information of the telco, of the data plan of each telco. And we also have the rating table. And in this rating table, we save the review of the user, rating, and the user rating. Also the data plan ID and user ID saved in this database. Next, we will go through the project coding. And as we can see here, this is the dbconfig.php, and this page will create the database connection with the website, and it also check the connection if the connection is successful or not. And this is the register.php. For this page, we will include the config file, that is dbconfig.php, to check the database connection so that all the data will be saved in the database successfully. And for register.php, in this coding, we will save the information of the user input when they want to create an account. As we can see here, this is the coding for the sign up form of the new user. And this coding is to check the username if the username is already have in the database, so the new user cannot use the same username. And then this coding is to validate the password and to check input errors before inserting in the database. For login, we will initialize the session by writing the session_start coding. And we will check if the user is already logged in, and if yes, they will be redirected into the homepage that is index.php. And dbconfig.php also included in this page. So in this page, we will check the username and also the password. And this is the coding for the form of the login page. Next is the index.php. This is the home page of this is the coding of the home page of the system. And as usual, we will check if the user log in, because if the user did not log in, they cannot get into this page. And for the index page, we only have the coding of the design and some button to redirect into the other page. And for example, for the navigation in the website, we have home, recommendation, list of telco, find data plan, and history, and also logout. As we can see here, it will be redirected for each of the page that is right by the coding. And the navigation is same in each page. Next is for product.php. In this page, we will get all the information of the data plan from the database. So we need the database config file to check the recommendation, to check the connection of the database. And this is the main coding in this page. We will get the we will get the information of the telco from the database. That is, so this is the coding. And then we will call for the product telco, product name, product price. And also we have two buttons in this page. That is button to go to the description page and also feedback page. The coding for category 1.php until category 6 have the same coding, but for different telco. So for the navigation, it have the same coding as before. We will focus to the coding of the database data plan list. So for this category, it will get the information of data plan in the database, and the selected product telco is Telcom. And for category 2, 3, 4, and 3, 4, 5, 6, we will select the other telco. Next is product single.php. This page will display the description of each data plan. So in this page, we will check the existence of ID parameter before processing the further action. So it will prepare a select statement to call all the information from the database. And it will retrieve the individual field value, that is product telco, product name, product type, product price, and product validity, and also product data. And if URL does not contain valid ID parameter, it will redirect to error page. And this is the coding for styling the rating in the feedback form. So this is the coding to display the description of the data plan and this coding shows the form of the feedback form. So the user need to input the review and also they can select for the rating of the data plan. And then in this form, it will also input the data plan ID and also the user ID so that it can be used, the information can be used by the recommendation engine to give recommendation for users. Next is feedback.php. In this page, we will display all the feedback from other user for each telco for each data plan. So this is the coding. It will defining the product ID by get the product ID so that the PHP file can connect with the database and get the information of each data plan based on the product ID, and then it will display the review and the rating of the data plan. Next is ins_rating. This page is used to insert the information from the feedback form in the product single.php file. Next is rated telco.php. So this page will display all the rated data plan by the current user or the login user. So this is the coding. The coding will retrieve the telco name and rating for the data plan in the database, because in this page we already include the database config.file to check the connection and make connection with the database. And then it will display all the telco and rating of the So this coding will display all the rated data plan by the user, and it will display the product name and also the rating that given by the user. In this page, we will have the recommendation engine. So this is the style for the recommendation table. And then this is the recommendation engine. In this file, we have the recommendation button and the ID is method for. So if the user click on get recommendation, this recommendation engine will calculate the similarity of the user with others. As we can see here, this is the coding. It will select the data plan ID and rating from rating table, where the user ID based on the current user that log in into the system, and then it will save in the telco array, and it will calculate the similarity of the user, and then it will compare it with the other users, and the recommendation will be displayed on the page of the system based on the similarity of user and the information that displayed on for the recommendation is product name, product type, and also product price. Next is search.php. In this file, we will have the script or the coding that will call the function in the fetch.php. So this file will get the data plan name based on the user input, and then it will display all the information of the data plan based on the data plan name that input by the user. Next is filter-data.php. This coding is for find data plan page. As we can see here, this is the coding to call all the information in the database, and it will select the product telco and the product type and also validity, so that the user can select any of the features from the page. For fetch_data.php, this page is the process for the previous page, so that this page will filter all the information based on the user input from the previous page. Then it will display all the information of the data plan. Next is logout.php. This file is for the system to destroy the session and will be redirected into the login page. And lastly, error.php. This page will be displayed if any problem that occurred in the system. Next is the XAMPP control panel, and this is the software that we use to test our web application. That's all from me. Thank you.